Here at the Young Turks, we hate hypocrisy. We've in fact been engaged in a multi-year war against it. And this week we got a powerful ally in Dark Brandon in the White House, who took to task any number of different Republicans who decided that student loan debt being canceled, that is unacceptable. But all of their financial skeletons in their closet are perfectly fine. But are they? Because the White House had some receipts. They started by targeting Marjorie Greene, pointing out that when she says it's completely unfair for loans to be forgiven, well, she'd had no problem with nearly $200,000 in PPP loans being forgiven for her. And while she was the first, she was by no means the greatest, and not only because she's Marjorie Greene. No, other congresspeople had far more in loans forgiven. Vern Buchanan, 2.3 million. Markwayne Mullin, 1.4 million. Matt Gaetz had nearly $500,000 forgiven. No word on if it was via check or Venmo, I'm not sure. But it almost seemed like as this list of tweets in the thread from the White House got longer and longer and longer and got more and more retweets, well over 150,000, I began to wonder if I was the only person who didn't take out PPP loans during the pandemic. It seemed like everybody else was dipping pretty deep there. But anyway, it was great to see them doing that, to really succinctly, very easy to share, pointing out the hypocrisy. That's what people want to see. And it wasn't just that they were showing that the other side was bad. At the same time, they were defending one of their major accomplishments. When people look back on Biden's first term, the cancellation of student loan debt is going to be one of the main things they remember. And all too often, Democrats, even when they finally accomplish something, and that's not common enough, they don't then defend it. They're a little bit shy, they're a little bit nervous. I don't know if we should really run on this. It might make people uncomfortable. No, defend it strongly, and that's what they're doing, and you love to see it.
Yeah, so there's two elements to the story. First of all, the White House fighting back, to which I say, yes, Queen. Finally, okay, all right, there you go. Yeah, why don't, like these are, look guys, I've told this to you on the air for 20 years, and you must have been wondering the same thing. Why don't they do it? Why don't they do the simplest things? And they just did it. Yes, they finally did something really simple. And as we're gonna show you, John's gonna show you in a second, there's like, and I wrote this on Twitter yesterday, like nearly every right winger complaining about student debt forgiveness has had a much larger debt forgiven.
Yes.
They just think that they're entitled to it. They don't even realize that debt is forgiven. But there's like nobody. In fact, I'm going to steal one of John's. I'm going to go to number 7. My old friend Curt Schilling. He and I beef every once in a while on social media. Okay, he says, "My body, my choice. Your loan, my responsibility. This loan isn't forgiveness. Such as your lazy, unaccountable, uneducated children being covered by hard-working, debt-paying Americans." Okay, now, let me give you what Curt Schilling did. Back in 2012, Schilling's video game company, 38 Studios, defaulted on a $75 million loan from the state of Rhode Island. He told Esquire in 2017 that he lost $50 million of it on his own fortune as well from the debacle, which he called the most painful time in my life. But Curt, let's get this right. Good Americans pay their debts, okay? So where's the 75 million? Give Rhode Island a 75 million, and then we'll let you run your mouth again. Until then, have that decency to shut up about it.
Yeah.
It's like Eddie Izzard's line about, if you murder one person, it's like, oh wow, yeah, you definitely go to jail, yeah, for life, maybe even the death sentence. But if you kill like 5 million, they're like, congratulations, do you want to be president? Like throughout history, that's how it works. It's the same with Republicans and loans. It's like once you've defaulted on 50 million, welcome to the club, baby boy. Like that's like how it works. Meanwhile, he's right about one thing, Cenk, which is he's calling people children. Yeah. A lot of people were actually children when they got suckered into these loan schemes with incredible interest rates in order to go to college because they were told this is the only way, A, to get a good paying job, and the only way you can actually get to college is, no, we can't lower tuition. We can't have like actually fair tuition prices that, I don't know, keep pace with like the minimum wage or just generally inflation. No, they're gonna skyrocket, and you're gonna have to pay it, by the way. And like, to say nothing of disproportionately who holds those loans, Black Americans, Black women in particular. But I just want to remind people, everyone's like, it's the PPP loans are different and no. No, they're not actually that different. And let's remember, it's not just Congress people who, by the way, as if they don't already, they can invest in the stock market, as Pelosi has proven and will defend. They can write legislation that benefits them. They can be in bed with lobbyists. But not only, that's Congress people. Remember how insurrectionists got PPP loans, you guys. We're talking members of the 3%ers. A guy named Russell Taylor in Southern California got $500,000 forgiven. That dude stormed the Capitol. He was indicted for conspiracy and carrying a deadly weapon. These are the people, and yet you want to come for students?
Yeah.
Just keep crying.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I know that centrists are loving to like break down. Well, is it really fair to compare these two? They're different. I don't care if they're different or the same. The reason why it's acceptable for the PPP loans to have been forgiven is the same reason that it's acceptable for the student loan debt to be forgiven. Because people took the loans to do what they had to do to survive in difficult economic times. Whether it was taking out a PPP loan or getting the degree that is required to get an ever increasing number of jobs in this country. People were put in a difficult position through no fault of their own, and thus the government needs to step in. That is why it is a valid comparison to make. And that is why we're gonna point out just a little bit more hypocrisy, by the way. So,
but hang on, John, before you move on, I just have to say one thing. If you follow the PPP loans, everyone's like, they saved jobs. No, they didn't. Only 25% apparently actually saved jobs from those PPP loans. So you could argue that a student who actually completed their 4 years or more of college is 100% doing what was asked of them to receive that loan, whereas the person who said claimed that they were saving jobs did not. Have we followed up? No, we haven't.
Sure.
Just sorry, keep going.
Well, look, Janine Pirro responded saying the sad part is there's no talk of responsibility. I apologize, I don't have a Pirro impersonation, and this is just water, it's not rosé, so this is the best I can do. The sad part is there's no talk of responsibility, no talk about contract law. The fact that you went in, you said you wanted to borrow money, you signed on the dotted line, you agreed to pay. By the way, it was revealed back in 2019 that she does not plan to repay nearly $600,000 in debts accrued during her ill-fated run for the US Senate. And look, she's by no means the only one. They just maintain this debt for years and years and years. It's beneficial to them for a variety of financial reasons. Oh, they have contractual obligations. That money was spent on things that went to corporations, and she's just not gonna pay it because it's inconvenient to do so. But let's give you one more. Stephen Moore, he said, what this bill essentially would do is give $300 billion to people who have college degrees from people who don't have college degrees. That's not essentially what it would do. I mean, how in the world is that fair? This isn't what America's about. You play by the rules and you get rewarded. If you're not paying your debts, you're a deadbeat. I mean, that's the term. And he would know, because back in 2019 also, it was a banner year for deadbeats. The Guardian cited court documents showing that Moore, quote, was reprimanded by a judge in November of 2012 for failing to pay Allison Moore, his ex-wife, more than $300,000 in spousal support, child support, and money owed under their divorce settlement. After continued delinquency, the judge ordered Moore to sell his house so he could pay what he owed, according to filings reviewed by The Guardian. Before a sale could happen, Moore paid his ex-wife about 2/3 of what he owned, and the sale was halted. So even under threat of his house being forcibly sold, even with a judge stepping in, he only paid 2/3 of what was owed. And that means he didn't pay at least $100,000, which would go a long way towards actually paying for a college education. So it really does all come full circle.
Yeah, so look, I'm gonna give one last example, but before that, just look, the right wing and left wing have different mindsets. I was lucky enough to pay all my loans, and when I see other people getting their loans forgiven, I'm ecstatic for them because I empathize. We know the pain of paying those loans, and it shouldn't be this expensive, and I'm thrilled for them. The right wing has had way bigger debts canceled, but they think, well, I'm entitled to that, okay?
Yes. Yes.
But that bum isn't entitled to it, even though it's like 1% of what you got, right? Because they just, me, mine, right? And that's what we got to deal with. Now, so if you think I'm being too rude, I'm gonna knock you out of the water right here. So you know who else has debts? Trump.
Yeah.
So every Trump supporter is out there going, I can't believe they paid off the student debts. First of all, in today's news, Trump is being sued because he owes $1.6 million to a right-wing vendor for True Social, and he just won't pay him. He never pays anyone. He had 6 bankruptcies, and in all this, so those 6 bankruptcies combined, he wiped away billions in debt. Yet MAGA guys go, yeah, of course that's smart business. You never pay the billions. You don't pay any money. You stiff everybody like our beloved Donald Trump. Oh, students got $10,000. Bums. That's the right-wing mindset.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.